Welcome to the Wayne Bennett podcast, celebrating West Virginia's people, places, and the culture of Southern Appalachia. Now here's your host, Wayne Bennett.
Welcome to our 33rd episode of Wayne Bennett's podcast. My name is Wayne Bennett, and our guest today is he's an educator, longtime educator, multi-sport athlete, volunteer, Christian, and family man. And welcome, Ron Cantley. Glad to have you.
Good to be here, Wayne.
Let's talk a little bit about, we know that your dad was also a longtime educator, and he ended up being a superintendent of schools in Raleigh County. And don't hear much about your mom. Is your mom still around?
Yes, she's still kicking. After my father passed, she got remarried, and she lives in Florida. She had some health struggles the last year, but she's doing well now. She's all recovered and on the upswing.
Was she at home when you were growing up, or did she work? Or
my mom was a teacher.
Okay.
And she taught at the school where I went, and me and my sister had her for our fourth grade teacher, and we'd get in the car and go to school every day with her. And I learned about school things from as soon as I was old enough to know what words were.
Did you feel any pressure with both your parents being educators and your dad being a superintendent or administrator? Did you feel any added pressure?
As far as my choice of vocation, they let me choose what I wanted to choose, and so there was no pressure there. And then, sometimes it would be a little different. Every teacher I had knew my mom and dad, but all those things were really blessings. The expectations that they had were righteous ones, and those helped me.
You have one sister?
And I have two sisters.
Two sisters.
Yeah, my mom and dad almost had two families. When I was 17, my second sister, Becky, was born. My first sister, Millie, she's only 3 years younger than me. Then when I was 19, my brother Adam was born. My dad, when he back then in the day, you'd give out cigars when you had a baby,
Uh-huh.
And my dad, they said, well, where's my cigar? He said, at my age, I don't give them, I get them. He was 46, and my mom was 40.
Wow.
When Adam was born. I believe he was 40.
Now, both your mom and dad both from around Rock Creek, Route 3, or somewhere?
My dad was from Rock Creek. Cantley Cemetery is just above Marsh Fork Elementary School.
Uh-huh.
And so that's where the Cantleys are from. And then my mom graduated from Mount Hope High School.
Oh, I see.
But she was raised pretty much in Pennsylvania. They came to Mount Hope when she was probably about 15, 16, something like that.
Now, growing up, did you play sports?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, man, I loved it. I played basketball, football. When I got into high school, I played tennis. In my senior year, you did not know this about me, but my senior year, I didn't want to play basketball, so I wrestled a little bit.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Who was coaching then?
Dix Manning. Yeah.
Oh,
Lee Barker didn't have a partner, and wrestling Lee was like wrestling a dining room table with legs as big as porch columns.
I remember Lee. Now, you graduated in, what, 77, 78?
78.
78.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember refereeing a little bit when Lee wrestled at Shady. You played football too, didn't you?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Who was the football coach at Shady?
Sterling Lewis.
Sterling Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of funny. I played youth football with Sterling. At Shady, Spring didn't have a youth football team program at that time, and so some of the Shady boys, Clancy Thompson, the Rumbergs, there were several of them, Harold Lilly, they all came to and played on the East Beckley team, the Wildcats, and Sterling was our quarterback 2 years that I played, and it was a very good athlete. And actually, we had I wasn't involved all the time, but we had like a 7-year streak where we won the championship. Frank Rodriguez was our coach, and a guy named Bill Scruggs, and James Robinson, who was JD and Jeff, and Frank Richmond. They were all, and Dave Rumberg's dad. All those guys were coaches at that time. So it was a pretty good experience. Now, you went to Concord, which is now Concord University. Were you involved in any activities at Concord? Or?
My freshman year, I was the student athletic trainer for the football team and the basketball team. But that was about the time my cousin introduced me to racing dirt bikes. And I was dating my wife, Debbie, at the time.
Where's Debbie from?
She is from Daniels.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's from Daniels. And, college was just a means to an end at that point. So I stayed on campus, but as soon as I could leave, I was either getting off of there as quick as I could to go see Deborah Gale, or I was going to go practice or race or ride.
So you got into dirt racing during your college years?
Yeah, about 1980. And
you're still doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now you have two sons,
right?
Jeff and Stefan.
Correct.
What are they doing?
Jeffrey is a technician in a factory just outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And Stefan went into the family business. He is a teacher at Shady Middle School.
Oh, but darn.
Yeah.
What about grandchildren? You got?
Yeah, got two. Miles and Paisley. Jeffrey has two.
Now, you were in education for 36 years.
That's a funny story because I tell people, I said, really? I started in education when I was 14. Back in the day when nepotism counted for something, my father got me a job as a painter for the Raleigh County Board of Education. And I turned 15 that summer. Or no, excuse me, I believe it was. Maybe it was 16. But anyway, it was the summer of before my junior year of high school, and I was a painter for the board. So before I got into the professional side of education, I was a painter. I was a plumber's helper, carpenter's helper, electrician's helper, general handyman, garbage truck driver, coal truck driver. All of that, early in my life.
It's kind of weird. When I was a senior in high school, and James Robinson was the principal down at the vocational school.
Great man. Still living, by the way.
He gave me a job, and I was a janitor, and I would go work an hour and a half before school and clean 2 or 3 rooms. And then on Friday evenings, I'd go down, and they still had the old coal stove, and I'd clean the coal stove out and stuff. I got about 15 hours a week, but sometimes when I get to school, I wouldn't have time to take a shower after working as a janitor. So no, you didn't want to sit beside of me too often. But the money helped, and it was a good experience and good people. But now, once you quoted that education was a calling. Do you still believe that?
Oh yeah. Some people have a biblical worldview, some don't, and I understand that public education is secular work. So I respect that in other people, but for a person who attempts to as best they can follow Christ's teachings and do what he wants, everything you do should be a calling. And I got into education and chose education before I realized it was my calling. Uh-huh. The Lord laid the groundwork before I knew what was going on. He had a better plan than I did, of course. But yeah, I do think anything you do is a calling. For me, it was my calling. You've had several positions in education, mm-hmm. and it's tough when you go from one job to another, and you have to establish new relationships mm-hmm. and those kind of things, and sometimes just pick up and go. How come you were willing to do that? I mean, well, I liked it for the most part. I will say this: I was blessed to have a couple jobs where I got to stay 6-7 years, really be intentional about building a culture, and see that come to fruition, and watch the school culture transition at Beckley Junior High. I think it was about 89 to 97. that I was in that position. And then Beckley Stratton, that would have been about 97, 98 to about 2002, 2003. Especially at Beckley Stratton, man, it was getting to start a school from a blank sheet of paper and be part of the team that did that. And I was the principal when we opened the school and getting to build that culture. So, yeah, I had a lot of jobs where I'd stay 2 or 3 years, but those two experiences where I got to see it through, that was also pretty special.
And during your time, what was one of the most difficult situations you've had as an educator?
Wow, what if I asked you that question? There were a lot of them that were really, really difficult and really, really tough. I know that when we opened Beckley Stratton, that facility had a lot of problems, and we were having problems with HVAC. We were having problems with the sewer system. That was tough. And then, the way that I felt called and chose to work on a day-to-day basis would be tough. If you are really who you say you are and you value order and harmony, those that would challenge that have to be confronted. And you don't like confrontation, you like to try to sell and persuade. But I'm like every principal that gets to the end of their career. You got dozens of stories. Which one do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And after a while, they kind of all blur together, and you get thick-skinned, because you chose it. You said, I chose this conflict. I chose to take this stand, and the only thing harder than doing the right thing is not doing the right thing. And you get a different perspective. So I could bore people with all the stories, and sometimes I do. I don't know if that's good for your podcast, but
what kind of advice will you give to a young person going into or thinking about going into education? And that's the tough thing right now. We're not getting very many, and if in West Virginia, if they are going in, they're not staying. What kind of advice would you give someone, do you think? I mean, thinking about becoming a teacher or an educator.
Well, think about this. Here you and I sit looking at each other. You're sitting in the house that you built with your father. You've got a lifetime of stories and relationships. And I can have similar stories. And when you were telling me that story before the podcast started, I was thinking, yeah, I did that with my father-in-law and my dad. And it's a rich relationship-filled life. And yeah, I guess I wasn't, I'm not rich, but I'm not poor. I've got to go on vacations. I've got to see my kids get educated. Blessing after blessing. And the core advice that I would think I would give people is follow Christ leading for your life, or follow Christ. If you seek Him first, then all these other things will follow. And I think one of the reasons people may not go into leadership, they may not go into education, they may not make those kinds of decisions, is you wonder, well, are you following your calling? If you have a biblical worldview and you know what your calling is, you're only going to be content and happy following your calling. Look at us. Here we are sitting here, two old men, looking back on what a great life. We wouldn't trade it for anything.
No.
And it's funny you should ask that. One of the things I do now for the board is I mentor new principals. And Dale Stafford's son's Ryan just started at Fairdale Elementary. And I got to be the interim principal till he got hired, and I get to work with him. And I was thinking about that, man. There's almost no men elementary principals. And here this young man is stepping up, wants to be a principal, and he's living a great life. He's excited and happy about it. My own son, Stefan chose education. He chose Southern West Virginia.
Great.
And he seems content and happy.
Now, after you retired, you delved into politics a little bit. And actually, considering the circumstances, which most people don't know, but how Raleigh County was carved up several years ago, you finished third on a Republican ticket. The two guys that beat you actually won the election in the general election. And you kind of approached it with an old-fashioned way of going out and meeting people and those kind of things. Didn't spend a lot of money on the media, and with redistricting coming up and the possibility that Raleigh County may not be as carved as it is now. I mean, actually, I'm on the edge of Raleigh County, but most of my district is in Fayette, Nicholas, Clay, and I mean, there'd probably be nobody from Raleigh County ever elected on the House of Delegates for that district just because of circumstances. But do you think you'd ever enter politics again?
I can't imagine that being my calling. When we were running, the guy that won from Raleigh County, Jeff Pack, who was a really good man.
Yeah.
It was a weird campaign because we never really said anything bad about each other because there was nothing. I hope there was nothing bad to say about me. And there certainly wasn't anything bad to say about Jeff. We were just trying to run on the merits.
Now he's resigned.
Yeah. He took a job in the state government, and it's important work. I'm pleased and proud to know him. But I joked with him. I said, Jeff, man, look, man, we're both Christians, and we both think we're called and led to run. I said, both of us can't be right.
That's right.
And it turns out he was right. But for me, it was a great blessing to not win. The job that I got as director of Raleigh County Community Action was something I didn't plan for. The Lord just made that happen. And I enjoyed doing that work for a little over 2 years.
Let's go with. So you're saying you probably won't.
There's a side of me that would say the Lord would have to send 100,000 change angels to sing to me at midnight on Saturday night, or something to get me to do that. But that's kind of extreme. But you want to go where you're called. If that calling ever presented itself, you're wrong to deny it. But I just can't imagine being effective in that role.
Well, when I was in college, I wanted to get involved in politics, but not as a candidate. I wanted to be a campaigner and work behind the scenes. And I actually worked for one person that had a paid position for Howie Wells. When Howie Wells ran against James Key, and Howie Wells was one of the guys with Dr. Rasmussen that did research on black lung and stuff, and he was kind of compared at the time to somebody like John F. Kennedy, and I still think he's a very good man and was the best candidate, but that was back before you had a lot of social media and things, and there was a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff going on that probably ran me out of the political scheme. But especially at that time when the unions were really strong, it was something different. But it was educational. I learned a whole lot. Well, you mentioned the director of Raleigh County Community Action, and how was that experience? I mean, you didn't campaign for the job. You got the job. I mean, what all did it involve without?
Raleigh County Community Action has a mission and a team of servant leaders helping people help themselves. I love that. And again, I got to start from scratch to try to build a culture. Raleigh County Community Action, many people are familiar with it because of the homeless shelter. A lot of people don't know that they run New River Transportation, public transportation in Raleigh County. They also have a Head Start program, and they have a housing program. So those are the four main things that Raleigh County Community Action does. And I told somebody, I said it was almost like getting to be the superintendent of schools 30 or 40 years ago. And one of my first days on the job, I was talking to the accountant, and she said, we got to set the wages for next year. We got to determine how much people are going to get paid. I said, really? Who decides that? How do they decide that? She said, well, you do. I said, what? Because everybody was a will and pleasure employee. It's just like running a business. It was just like, being like Richard Gerald running Chick-fil-A or something. You were in charge, and really in charge. And I love that. There was a lot more responsibility, of course, compared to being a school principal. There's things I never thought about doing, that I learned to do, and I loved it. It was a great experience.
I know one of the biggest issues is homelessness, and how what's a solution?
Well, I tell you what, we were sitting in a meeting one time. It was a planning meeting, and there was we had a group of people, and we were, doing our long-term plan. And people asked that question, well, what is the solution? Or what's causing this problem? And there was a pastor sitting beside me, and that guy started wiggling in his seat. Man, I could tell he was wanting to say something. And I looked at him, and I said, are you wanting to say it's sin? And he said, yes, and I believe it. The further we drift from, as a culture and as a society, from the belief that God is in charge, God has a sovereign right to be in charge, that the Bible is based on empirical, unadulterated, uncompetitive truth from a sovereign, righteous God. The more we drift from that, the worse off we are. And that doesn't mean we're always perfect at it. If you've ever been to a church business meeting, we'll struggle. But we at least know where we're trying to go. And we got a core. And as a society, we drift from that. So when we start working with homeless people, we start treating their symptoms, But I think at its core, it's sin as a culture and a society. Now, with that said, it's still secular work. If somebody has an addiction, you want to get them in treatment. If they're sick, you want to get them to a doctor. If they need help with employment, you want to help them with that. But over and over again, I would see people that were so captured by their addiction that I would sit and talk with them. I'd say, hey, it'd be a cold January night. Hey, come on, man, get in my truck. I can take you to the shelter. You'll be in a warm place. You can get a hot shower. We'll give you 3 good meals a day. We'll connect you with case. I would tell them all the things that we could do for them to help get their life back on track. And they'd walk out into the cold of a dark night.
Wow.
And when they did that, it was because they were so captured by their addiction that they were afraid, and not without cause, that being in that shelter would compete with their ability to satisfy their addiction. They'd lost themselves, almost like they're possessed.
Yeah.
And I think they are. They've lost their will, lost their capacities. It's just gone.
And it's sad.
It is sad. It's heartbreaking.
Let's talk about the athlete. You've run for years. What was one of your favorite races that you've ever ran in?
Well, there was a guy at Park named Wayne Bennett who was running and winning a whole lot, and I would watch him, and then I'd watch Jim Mahalik run, and that was kind of inspired me. I'd see, and Bernard Bostic, I watched Bernard run, and I thought, well, those guys, if they can do it, I guess anybody can. So, I was a phys ed teacher and played basketball a lot as an adult, and I just like training and like running, and once you start racing, it's like, ooh, that guy beat me, or I'll beat that guy, and here we go. And you're off and gone. You know what I'm talking about. I enjoy I feel blessed to be reasonably fit. It's been a blessing in my life, and I just enjoyed it.
Well, you're 61 years old, and just a couple of days ago, you took a bike ride of 62 miles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to the average person, that's unbelievable. And bike riders, not so much. But still, yeah, that's amazing. I think, and the bike industry has the technology, those kind of things. What do you want to accomplish? I know you've been in a series, Grand National Series. Is that's not the dirt racing? That's the biking, right?
It's people that are familiar with mountain bikes.
Yeah,
will know what I'm talking about. It's a mountain bike that's electronically assisted, and it's kind of the new thing of that's coming on. Just like you're starting to see hybrid cars and electric cars. You're starting to see electronically assisted electric dirt bikes. In this case, it's a pedal assisted bike. And I thought I told people my risk reward meter is starting to get pegged on that dirt bike. You start making a mistake at 50 or 60 miles an hour. That's one thing, but I thought, well, on that e-bike I could make it at 15 or 20. It's not quite so catastrophic, or has the potential to do that. But and I thought it would be easier, but that turned out not to be true.
Really?
No. You're pedaling up a hill and you're racing somebody, so you're always pedaling as hard as you can. You're just going faster. So, but I had a great season. It ended just the last 2 weekends ago at Scout Camp. I finished third in the nation in my class. It's the best I've ever done in anything.
Wow.
And
well, I know bikers, guys that get in these races and stuff. I mean, that's a different breed. I mean, those guys are. You got to be about courageous or half crazy.
Well, it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel. I like to think I present as a responsible adult most of the time. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. But it's just I felt it's no different than doing a running race or a bicycle race. When you're competing, you're just doing the best you can, and you're pushing against your limits of your courage, and you're pushing against the limits of your fitness, and you're pushing against the limits of your competitors. So it doesn't feel any different. It doesn't feel dangerous. Mm-hmm. You're outside looking in. You say, well, you're on a line with 30 guys. That turn is about 300 feet away. There's 40 people on the line, and you're going to funnel into a single track path within maybe a quarter of a mile, and you hear those bikes roar. But when you're in it, you don't feel that way. It's just like, man, I'm going to hit that spot.
What's next for Ron Cantley? You got. You're retired, but you're still doing some subbing and a few things like that. But what you got planned?
Well, right now I'm working about 20 hours a week at Beckley Elementary doing a math intervention. I got about 15 youngins that come to me in 5 30-minute intervention groups, and I teach them math 4 days a week, about 20 hours a week. The other thing that I do is mentor new principals. I was talking to you about Mr. Stafford at Fairdale. Right now, he's the only one I think the county has. So I'm doing that. And then anytime the Board of Education has a case of that's in violation of a Title IX, usually sexual harassment, I'm what they call an administrative investigator. Mm-hmm. They have, back in the day, as principals, we investigated our own case. They changed the law, and they have to have a private, independent administrative investigator. So if there's a case that would occur, they'll call me and I'll do the investigation. So that's what I'm doing right now.
One of my favorite quotes is, if you give anything less than the best, you sacrifice the gift. And you surely haven't been sacrificing the gift. And it's been a pleasure having you on the show. And my biggest question is, can we get you back again? I'd like to get in a little more in depth. Would you come back? Yeah, I'd love to. It's fun. I could tell you stories that are that'll get me in trouble, and you'll get in trouble for recording them. But they're still true, and I think they're important. And it is culture shaping. I don't know if it would have an impact. You want to take your platform, this platform you got right now. I'd say both of us have that same compulsion. I got a platform and I want to make things better. I just want to make things better. Right now it seems like the world's on fire. And I could be at home today. I got stuff to do. My grass needs cut. My truck's dirty, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to go to Beckley Elementary and teach 15 kids math. Of course, they are paying me. It's not like I'm Mother Teresa or anything. But you get my point. Mm-hmm. We just look at the people that in the community that we love, and we think, well, I'm 61. I can still do something. I better do it. There you go, buddy. Well, we appreciate you coming by. And the people out there, everybody's got a story. And if you think you want to be on here, we'd love to have you. And just check me out at awbennett50@gmail.com. And remember, if you ain't dead yet, you're not done yet. Until next time, God bless you.